I'm Theodore. I'm 63 years old. And 3 days ago, my son Vance sent me a text message that made my hands shake so badly I dropped my phone. Dad, if you're coming for Thanksgiving, you need to bring $50,000. Cash, non negotiable. Otherwise, don't bother showing up. $50,000 from a man who works night shifts at a warehouse just to afford his $900 a month apartment. I read it twice, then three times, waiting for the punchline that never came. See, Vance isn't struggling. He lives in a gated community in Charlotte with his wife Imogen and their three kids, Zane, Piper, and little Silas. He drives a Range Rover. His house looks like it belongs in a magazine. He runs an investment firm that manages millions. And he wanted me, his broken down father, who he hadn't seen in 8 months, to bring him 50 grand for Thanksgiving dinner or stay away. I didn't bring the money, but I did show up at his door on Thanksgiving Day. And what I carried in that briefcase, it didn't just ruin dinner, it destroyed everything they'd built. Every lie, every secret, every carefully constructed illusion. Within 15 minutes of me walking through that door, Imogen was in tears. Vance's face went white as snow, and their perfect Thanksgiving. It turned into the kind of nightmare you can't wake up from. But here's the thing nobody saw coming, not even me. The text message demanding $50,000, Vance never sent it. And what I did next, it wasn't just revenge. It was something far more dangerous. It was justice. Stop right there. If you don't hit that subscribe button right now, you're going to miss the most insane family breakdown you've ever witnessed. I'm talking secrets, lies, betrayal, and a plot twist that will leave you absolutely speechless. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell because this story gets darker, messier, and more satisfying with every single chapter. Drop a in the comments if you think I did the right thing, or if you think I went too far. Share this with someone who's ever been betrayed by family. Let's hit 50,000 subscribers and show them what happens when you push the wrong man too far. The story starts now. And trust me, you're not ready for what I found out about my own son. I still remember the exact moment my life split in two. It was a Tuesday morning, November 19th. I was sitting in my apartment, one bedroom, cracked linoleum floors, a window that overlooks the parking lot of a Dollar General, drinking gas station coffee and scrolling through my phone before my shift started. The warehouse doesn't care if you're tired, doesn't care if you're 63 with a bad knee and arthritis creeping into your fingers. The boxes still need moving. The inventory still needs counting. So I drink my coffee, lace up my boots, and I go. That's my life now. It wasn't always like this. 10 years ago, I had a career. 22 years in corporate finance. A house with a backyard. A wife named Eleanor who made the world feel softer just by existing. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. We were happy. Then 2008 hit. The economy collapsed. My company folded. Our savings evaporated. And just when I thought we'd clawed our way back, Eleanor got sick. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer, gone in 8 months. I paid for her funeral with money I didn't have. Vance helped. He was 28 then, already climbing the ladder, already making the kind of money I'd only dreamed about. He stepped in, paid the bills, bought me a used car when mine died, sent me checks when I couldn't make rent. I told him I'd pay him back. He said, "Dad, you're family. Family doesn't keep score." I believed him. That Tuesday morning, my phone buzzed. A text from Vance. I smiled. It'd been weeks since I'd heard from him. Maybe he was finally reaching out. Maybe we'd grab lunch. Maybe. I opened the message. Dad, if you're coming for Thanksgiving, you need to bring $50,000. Cash, non negotiable. Otherwise, don't bother showing up. Vance. The coffee mug slipped from my hand. It hit the floor and shattered. Brown liquid spreading across the linoleum like a stain I'd never get out. I stared at the screen, read it again. $50,000. My throat tightened. My chest felt like someone had reached in and squeezed. I typed back with shaking fingers. Is this a joke? I watched the screen, saw the three dots appear, disappear, appear again. Nothing. 3 hours passed. I called in sick to work, first time in 2 years. I just sat there on my couch, staring at my phone like it was a bomb about to go off. Finally, at 11:43 p.m., another message came through. Dead serious. You've been living off our generosity long enough. Time to contribute or stay away. Your choice. I read those words 5 times. Living off our generosity. Like I was some kind of parasite. Some leech draining them dry. I thought about every time I'd called Vance after Eleanor died. Every time I'd needed help. Every time he'd said, "Don't worry about it, Dad. We've got you." And now this. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dark of my apartment, the kind of silence that makes you hear every creak in the walls, every hum of the refrigerator, every beat of your own failing heart. And I kept asking myself the same question. When did my son become someone I don't recognize? But the thing is, I should have asked a different question. I should have asked, did Vance really send this? Because the next morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. I started digging. I logged into the old family phone plan, the one Vance set up 7 years ago and never bothered to remove me from. I pulled up the account activity, found the message thread, checked the device log, and there it was. The text demanding $50,000 didn't come from Vance's iPhone. It came from a secondary device, an iPad, registered to the account 6 months ago under a different name. Imogen, my daughter-in-law. Vance didn't send that message, his wife did. And just like that, everything I thought I knew shattered into 1,000 pieces. I sat back in my chair, my jaw clenched so tight I thought my teeth might crack. She'd used his phone number, his name, his voice. But why? I picked up my phone, started making calls, old contacts, people I used to work with. A guy named Raymond who'd moved into private financial consulting, the kind of work that involved digging through corporate filings and asking questions nobody wanted answered. "Ray," I said when he picked up, "I need a favor." "Theodore." He sounded surprised. We hadn't spoken in 3 years. "What's going on?" "My son, Vance. He runs an investment firm in Charlotte. I need to know if he's in trouble." There was a pause. Then, "Funny you should ask." My stomach dropped. "There's been talk," Raymond said carefully. "Nothing confirmed. But word on the street is he's gotten himself into a tight spot. Bad trades, margin calls, and..." He hesitated. "And what?" "There's a rumor the SEC opened a preliminary inquiry 2 weeks ago." The room tilted. "How bad?" I whispered. "Bad enough that if it goes public, he's done. Career over. Possibly criminal charges." I thanked him, hung up, sat in the suffocating quiet of my apartment. Imogen knew. She'd known Vance was in trouble, maybe for months. And when the walls started closing in, she did what people like her always do. She looked for someone to blame, someone expendable, someone already broken, me. The $50,000 demand wasn't about money. It was about creating a narrative. If I refused to bring the cash, I'd look like the selfish, ungrateful father who abandoned his family in their time of need. Perfect scapegoat when everything collapsed. And if I somehow did bring the money, even better. She'd bleed me dry, take what little I had, and I'd be too ashamed to fight back. I felt something cold settle into my chest. Not sadness, clarity. I stood up, walked to my closet, pulled out the old leather briefcase I'd carried for 20 years in my corporate days. Dusty, worn, but still good. I wasn't going to bring Imogen $50,000, but I was going to show up for Thanksgiving. And I was going to bring something that would burn their perfect little world to the ground. I spent the next 2 days moving like a ghost through my own life. I went to work, stacked boxes, scanned barcodes, smiled at my supervisor when he asked if I was feeling better. Yeah, I said, just a stomach bug. But inside, I was calculating, planning, turning over every piece of the puzzle until it clicked into place. See, people forget what I used to do. They see the old man in the warehouse vest, the guy who eats lunch alone in his car, and they assume that's all I ever was. They don't know I spent 2 decades managing portfolios, analyzing risk, spotting the gaps in balance sheets that nobody else could see. I wasn't a genius, but I was thorough, and I knew how to find the truth when people were lying about money. So I did what I do best. I started pulling threads. First, I went through every piece of paper I still had from the years Vance helped me financially. Bank statements, emails, receipts. I'd kept them all in a cardboard box under my bed, not out of sentimentality, but because some old habit from my corporate days told me to never throw away financial records. Buried in those emails was something I'd forgotten. 4 years ago, when I was drowning in medical bills after Eleanor died, Vance made me a co-signer on one of his business checking accounts. Just temporary, Dad, he'd said. It'll make it easier to transfer money to you without fees. I'd signed the forms, and then, and in the chaos of grief and survival, I'd forgotten all about it. But the account was still active. And because I was still listed as a co-signer, I still had legal access to the transaction history. I logged in. It took me 3 hours to piece together what I was seeing. Transfers, withdrawals, payments to shell companies with names that meant nothing. Bridgemont Capital LLC, Apex Consulting Group, Silverline Investments. I cross-referenced the names, ran searches, found incorporation documents. Every single one of them was registered to the same address. Vance and Imogen's home address. They weren't real companies. They were fronts. I leaned back in my chair, my heart pounding. Vance had been siphoning money out of his investment fund, moving it into fake entities, paying himself with his clients' money. And the returns his investors were seeing, the steady, reliable 12% annual gains, they weren't real. He was running a Ponzi scheme. I sat there for a long time staring at the screen, feeling something I hadn't felt in years, rage, not the hot kind, the cold kind, the kind that sharpens your thinking instead of clouding it. My son, has stolen from people, retirees, families, people who trusted him. And when it started to fall apart, when the SEC came sniffing, Imogen panicked. She needed a story, a villain, someone the investors could blame when the truth came out. And she picked me. I printed everything, bank records, corporate filings, transaction histories. I compiled it into a folder so airtight that even a first-year law student could follow the trail. Then I made one more call, Raymond again. Ray, I need you to do something for me, I said. Hypothetically. I don't like the sound of this already. If someone were to report financial fraud to the SEC, how long would it take for them to act? Silence. Theodore, what did you find? Just answer the question, he sighed. Depends on the evidence. If it's solid, they could freeze accounts within days, launch a full investigation within a week. If it's a Ponzi scheme, they move fast. Good, I said. Theodore, listen to me. If you're thinking about turning in your own son, I'm not, I said. Not yet. I hung up. Because I wasn't interested in destroying Vance, not unless I had to. What I wanted was something else entirely. I wanted the truth, out in the open, in front of everyone. I wanted Vance to see what his wife had done, what he'd allowed to happen. And I wanted Imogen to know that she'd picked the wrong man to sacrifice. Thanksgiving morning, I woke up at 5 a.m. I showered, shaved, put on the one good suit I still owned, charcoal gray, a little loose in the shoulders now, but it still fit. I looked at myself in the mirror, an old man, tired eyes, gray stubble I'd missed along my jawline, but my hands were steady. I picked up the briefcase, felt the weight of it, not money, just paper, but paper that could end lives. I drove the 2 hours to Charlotte in silence, no music, no radio, just the hum of the highway and the sound of my own breathing. When I pulled into Vance and Imogen's neighborhood, the security guard waved me through. He knew my car. I'd been here enough times over the years. The house looked like something out of a dream. 2-story colonial, manicured lawn, a massive oak tree in the front yard strung with white lights that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Cars lined the driveway. Imogen's parents, her brother Theodore, a couple I didn't recognize. I parked on the street, sat for a moment. My phone buzzed. A text from Piper, my 11-year-old granddaughter. Grandpa, are you coming today? I stared at the message, felt my throat tighten. I typed back, I'm outside, sweetheart. 3 dots. Then, Mom said you probably wouldn't come. I'm glad you're here. I closed my eyes, took a breath. Then I got out of the car. I walked up the driveway, briefcase in hand, and I didn't knock. I just opened the door. The smell hit me first. Roasted turkey, sage, sweet potatoes, the warm chaos of a family holiday. Laughter echoed from the dining room. I stepped inside. The laughter stopped. Imogen appeared first, a wine glass in her hand, her smile freezing when she saw me. Theodore. Her voice was tight, surprised, annoyed. You actually came. I did, I said quietly. Vance walked out from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a dish towel. His face went pale. Dad, I didn't think you'd... I know what you thought, I said. Imogen's mother, Zola, appeared behind her, eyebrows raised in curiosity. Her brother Theodore leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, smirking like this was all some kind of performance. I looked around the room, at the expensive furniture, the crystal glassware. The people who'd once hugged me, called me family, and now looked at me like I was an uninvited ghost. I need to talk to all of you, I said. Right now. Vance's jaw tightened. Dad, maybe we should do this in private. No, I said. This needs to be in front of everyone. I set the briefcase on their pristine marble countertop, and I opened it. The briefcase clicked open. For a moment, nobody moved. They just stared. At me, at the briefcase, at each other, like they were waiting for the punchline to a joke nobody had told. I pulled out the first document, laid it flat on the counter. This, I said, my voice calm, steady, is a bank statement from Vance's business account, the one he made me a co-signer on 4 years ago. Vance's face drained of color. Dad, what are you... I'm talking, I said. Not loud, but firm enough that he stopped. I pulled out another sheet, then another, spread them across the marble like I was dealing cards. These are transaction records. Transfers made over the last 18 months from Vance's investment fund into three separate entities: Bridgemont Capital, Apex Consulting Group, and Silverline Investments. Imogen's brother Theodore pushed off the doorframe, suddenly interested. So? Vance manages investments. That's his job. It would be, I said, except none of those companies are real. The room went silent. I pulled out more documents, corporate filings, registration records. All three entities are shell companies, registered to this address, this house. There are no employees, no offices, no legitimate business operations. They exist for one purpose only: to move money out of client accounts and into Vance's personal control. Zola stepped forward, her face tight. That's a serious accusation, Theodore. It's not an accusation, I said. It's a fact. I turned to face Vance. His hands were shaking. His face had gone from pale to gray. You've been running a Ponzi scheme, I said quietly. For at least 18 months. You take money from new investors and use it to pay returns to old investors. You make everyone think their portfolios are growing, but the money isn't really there. It's just moving in circles. And when someone wants to cash out, you find new money to cover it until you can't anymore. That's insane, Imogen said, but her voice cracked. Vance would never. He did, I said, turning to her. And you knew. Her mouth opened, closed. Her wine glass trembled in her hand. I pulled out my phone, opened the recording app, hit play. Her voice filled the kitchen, a voicemail from 6 months ago. Theodore, we need you to stay quiet about the money Vance has been borrowing from the business. If anyone asks, you tell them it was a family loan. Nothing formal. Do you understand? This is important. For the kids. The color drained from her face. Zola's head snapped toward her daughter. Imogen, what is he talking about? Imogen's voice broke. I didn't know it was. You knew something was wrong, I said. You've known for months. And when you realized it was about to collapse, you panicked. I pulled out the final piece of evidence, a screenshot of the text message, the one demanding $50,000. This message didn't come from Vance's phone, I said. It came from your iPad. You sent it using his number. You wanted me to either bring the money I don't have, or publicly refuse and look like the selfish father who abandoned his family in their time of need. Theodore, Imogen's brother, stepped forward, his face red. You were setting up your own father-in-law. I was trying to protect this family, Imogen shouted, her voice shaking. You don't understand what it's like. The pressure, the bills, the investors calling every day. I was trying to buy us time. By throwing me under the bus, I said quietly. She didn't answer. I turned back to Vance. He was leaning against the counter now, his head in his hands. Vance, I said, look at me. He didn't move. Look at me. Slowly he raised his head. His eyes were red. Did you know she sent that text? I asked. He hesitated. Then, barely a whisper. Yes. Something cracked inside my chest. You let her, I said. I didn't know what else to do, he said, his voice breaking. Dad, I'm drowning. The SEC is investigating. I've got clients threatening lawsuits. I can't sleep. I can't think. His voice cracked. I just needed it to stop. So you were going to let me take the fall? He didn't answer. I looked around the room at Zola, whose face had gone pale. At Theodore, who looked like he wanted to punch something. At Imogen, whose carefully constructed mask had finally shattered. Here's what's going to happen, I said. Tomorrow morning, Vance is going to contact the SEC. He's going to cooperate fully. He's going to provide every record, every transaction, every name. He's going to make this right for every person he stole from. And if he doesn't, Zola asked quietly. I picked up the briefcase. Then I take this to the FBI, and he goes to prison. Imogen let out a sob. I looked at Vance one last time. I loved you, I said. I would have done anything for you, but you chose her, and she chose money over everything. I turned toward the door. Behind me, Vance's voice, barely audible. Dad, please. I stopped. Didn't turn around. You've got 24 hours, I said. Then I walked out. I didn't go home. I drove to a diner off Highway 77, the kind of place that smells like burnt coffee and has vinyl booths held together with duct tape. I ordered eggs I didn't eat and coffee I didn't taste, and I sat there in the back corner booth staring at nothing. My phone was face down on the table. I didn't want to look at it. Didn't want to see the calls I knew were coming. But at 9:47 p.m., it buzzed. Then again, I flipped it over. 7 missed calls, all from Vance, 3 voicemails. I didn't listen to them. I just sat there, feeling the weight of what I'd done settle over me like a heavy coat I couldn't take off. I'd burned it all down. The family, the pretense, the carefully maintained lie that everything was fine. And for what? Justice, revenge, or just the need to prove I wasn't as weak as they thought I was. My phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Vance. It was a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but something made me pick up. Hello? Grandpa? My heart stopped. Piper? Her voice was small, shaky. I'm sorry to call so late. I took Mom's phone. She doesn't know. I sat up straighter, gripping the phone tighter. Sweetheart, what's wrong? Are you okay? I heard everything, she whispered, after you left. Grandma Zola was yelling at Mom. Uncle Theodore said really mean things to Dad. And then Mom locked herself in the bedroom and Dad just sat on the floor in the hallway and cried. My throat tightened. Zane's in his room with his headphones on, Piper continued. Silas doesn't understand what's happening. He keeps asking when we're eating dessert. And her voice cracked. Grandpa, I don't know what to do. Where are you right now? I asked gently. In my room. I told everyone I was going to bed. Okay. Listen to me, sweetheart. You didn't do anything wrong. None of this is your fault. Do you understand? But Mom said, she hesitated. She said, you're trying to ruin us. She said you're lying because you're jealous. Is that true? And there it was. Imogen's next move. Rewrite the narrative. Make me the villain. Use the kids as shields. I closed my eyes. Took a slow breath. Piper, I need you to listen very carefully, I said. Your mom and dad made some mistakes. Big ones. And I'm trying to help them fix it before it gets worse. But it's complicated. And it's scary. And I know that's hard to understand. Are they going to jail? I don't know, honey. I hope not. She was quiet for a long moment, then, do you still love us? I felt something break inside me. More than anything in the world, I said, my voice thick. You, Zane, and Silas. You 3 are the best thing in my life. And I will always love you, no matter what happens. I heard her sniffle. I love you too, Grandpa. Go to sleep, okay? Everything's going to be all right. Promise? I hesitated, because I didn't know if that was true. But I said it anyway. I promise. She hung up. I sat there for a long time staring at my phone. Then I did something I hadn't planned on doing. I called Vance. He picked up on the first ring. "Dad, shut up and listen," I said. Silence. "I didn't do this to destroy you," I said. "I did it because you were drowning and you were going to take innocent people down with you, including your own kids." "I know," he whispered. "I know, Dad. You've got a choice to make," I said. "You can do what Imogen wants. Spin this, blame me, try to hold it together with duct tape and lies. Or you can do the right thing. Come clean, cooperate, face the consequences like a man. And if I do that, I lose everything." "Maybe," I said. "But if you don't, you lose something worse. You lose yourself." He was quiet. "I can't tell you what to do, Vance," I said. "But I can tell you this. I didn't raise a coward. And I didn't raise a thief. Somewhere inside you, the son I knew is still there. And he knows what's right." There was a long pause. Then Vance said, his voice breaking, "She's going to leave me." "I know. The kids will be okay because you're going to make them okay." More silence. "I don't know if I can do this," he whispered. "Yes, you can," I said, "because I'm going to help you." "What?" I leaned back in the booth, feeling something shift inside me. "Tomorrow morning," I said, "we're going to the SEC together. You're going to tell them everything. And I'm going to be there with you. Not as your enemy, as your father." I heard him exhale, a shaky, broken sound. "Why would you do that?" he asked. "After everything I did to you." I thought about Eleanor, about the man I used to be, about the father I wanted to be. "Because you're still my son," I said quietly, "and I'm not giving up on you." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then Vance said, barely audible, "I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry." "I know," I said. "Now get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be hard." I hung up, sat there in that diner booth, surrounded by strangers who didn't know my name and didn't care about my pain. And for the first time in years, I felt something I'd almost forgotten. Hope. Wait. Hold on. Did Theodore just forgive him after everything? Or is there something else going on here? Because this is not over. Not by a long shot. If you're not subscribed, do it now. Next is where everything comes to a head. The SEC, Imogen's next move, and a twist that will blow your mind. Drop a if this chapter hit you in the feels. Drop a if you think Theodore made the right call. And share this story because we're about to hit 200,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. Let's go. The SEC office in Charlotte smelled like stale coffee and bureaucracy. Gray walls, fluorescent lights, metal chairs that squeaked when you shifted your weight. Vance sat next to me, his hands folded in his lap, his leg bouncing uncontrollably. He hadn't slept. I could see it in the dark circles under his eyes, the tremor in his fingers, the way he kept glancing at the door like he wanted to bolt. "It's going to be okay," I said quietly. He didn't answer. We'd been waiting for 20 minutes when the door finally opened. A woman in her 40s walked in, sharp suit, sharper eyes, carrying a folder thick enough to stop a bullet. Behind her, a younger man with a tablet. "Mr. Blackwell," she said, looking at Vance. "I'm Agent Patricia Morris. This is Agent Jen. Thank you for coming in voluntarily." Vance nodded, his throat working like he was trying to swallow glass. She sat down across from us, opened the folder, and didn't waste time. "We've been investigating your firm for 6 weeks," she said. "We have records of irregular transactions, client complaints, and offshore transfers that don't match your filings. What we don't have is cooperation." She looked at Vance. So I'm going to ask you once. Are you here to help us? Or are you here to waste my time? Vance glanced at me. I nodded. He took a shaky breath. And then he started talking. For 3 hours, Vance laid it all out. The fake companies, the client payments used to cover earlier withdrawals, the falsified portfolio statements. The moment he realized he was in too deep and couldn't stop. Agent Morris didn't interrupt. She just took notes, asked clarifying questions, let him bury himself with his own words. When he finally finished, the room was silent. And your wife, Morris asked. Imogen Blackwell, what was her involvement? Vance hesitated. She knew, he said quietly. Not everything, but enough. She helped set up the shell companies. She signed some of the documents. And when things started falling apart, he stopped, swallowed hard. She tried to find someone to blame. Morris glanced at me. You. I nodded. She closed the folder, looked at Vance for a long moment. You've committed multiple felonies, she said. Wire fraud, securities fraud, conspiracy. If this goes to trial, you're looking at 15 to 20 years. Vance's face crumbled. However, Morris continued, you came in voluntarily, you're cooperating, and based on what you've told me, we can recover a significant portion of your client's funds if we move quickly. She leaned forward. Here's the deal. You give us everything. Bank records, client lists, communication with your wife. You testify if we need you to. You help us dismantle this before anyone else gets hurt. Do that, and I'll recommend leniency. Restitution instead of prison time. Probation, community service. You'll lose your license, your career, your reputation, but you won't lose your freedom. Vance looked at me, his eyes red. What do I do? He whispered. I reached over, put a hand on his shoulder. You do the right thing, I said. He nodded, turned back to Agent Morris. I'll do it, he said. Whatever you need, I'll do it. Morris stood, extended her hand. Vance shook it, and just like that, it was over. We walked out of the building into the cold November air. Vance stopped on the sidewalk, his hands in his pockets, staring at nothing. What happens now? He asked. You go home, I said. You tell Imogen what you did, and you start putting the pieces back together. She's going to leave me. Probably. He laughed, bitter, broken. I've lost everything. No, I said. You've lost the things. The house, the money, the reputation. But your kids, they're still here. And so am I. He looked at me, his eyes shining. Why? He asked. After what I did to you, why are you still here? I thought about Eleanor, about the man I'd been before grief hollowed me out, about the father I wanted to be. Because walking away would have been easier, I said. And I'm done taking the easy road. Vance's face crumpled. He pulled me into a hug, sudden, desperate, the kind of hug a drowning man gives a life raft. I held him and I let him cry. 3 days later, Imogen filed for divorce. She didn't call. Didn't explain. Just had her lawyer send the papers. Vance called me that night, his voice hollow. She's gone, he said. Took her stuff, left the kids with me. Said she couldn't do this anymore. I'm sorry, I said. I'm not, he said quietly. I should have seen it years ago. She didn't love me. She loved what I could give her. And when that was gone, he trailed off. You're better off, I said. I know. There was a pause. Dad, he said. Yeah? Thank you for not giving up on me. I closed my eyes. You're my son, Vance. I'll never give up on you. A week later, the story broke. Local news picked it up first. Investment advisor cooperates with SEC in fraud investigation. Then the Nationals. Charlotte Mann faces restitution in Ponzi scheme case. Vance's face was everywhere, but so was the truth. And slowly, painfully, he started rebuilding. He sold the house, moved into a modest rental, got a job as a financial consultant for a nonprofit that helped low-income families with budgeting. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. And for the first time in years, he could sleep at night. 6 months later, I'm standing in a park on a Saturday morning in May. The sun is warm, the grass is green, kids are laughing on the playground, and across from me, sitting on a bench, is Zane. He's 14 now, taller than the last time I saw him. He's got his father's build, but his grandmother Eleanor's quiet way of seeing the world. "Grandpa," he says, "Dad told me what you did." I sit down next to him. "What did he tell you?" "That you could have destroyed him, but you didn't. You helped him instead." I nod slowly. "Your dad made mistakes, big ones, but he owned up to them. That takes courage." Zane picks at the edge of his jacket. "Mom's gone. She doesn't call much anymore. She moved to Arizona with some guy she met online." "I'm sorry." He shrugs. "I'm not. She was always fake, even before all this. I just didn't want to admit it." We sit in silence for a moment. "How's your dad doing?" I asked. "Better," Zane says. "He's different now, quieter. He actually listens when we talk, and he's teaching me about money, the right way this time. How to save, how to invest, how not to lie to people." I smile. "That's good." He says you saved his life. I shake my head. "I didn't save him. He saved himself. I just gave him the chance." Zane looks at me. "Will you come to my birthday next week? Dad's throwing a small thing at the apartment. Just us and Piper and Silas. Nothing fancy." "I'll be there," I say. He grins. The first real smile I've seen from him in months. 2 weeks later, I'm sitting at Vance's kitchen table in his small 2-bedroom rental. It's nothing like the mansion. The counters are laminate instead of marble. The walls are thin. You can hear the neighbor's TV through the wall, but it's clean. It's warm, and it's real. Piper is showing me a drawing she made, a family portrait. Me, Vance, her, Zane, and Silas, all holding hands under a big tree. "You're in the middle, Grandpa," she says, "because you hold us together." I feel my throat tighten. Vance walks over, a dish towel in his hand. He looks at the drawing, smiles. "She's right, you know," he says quietly. I look up at him. "I spent years chasing money," he says, "thinking that's what made me a man. That's what made me worth something. And I lost everything because of it." He sits down across from me. "But you showed me something, Dad. You showed me that dignity isn't about what you have. It's about what you do when everything's taken away." I don't know what to say. "I'm not the man I was," Vance says. "And I'm glad, because that man was hollow. But this?" He gestures around the small apartment. "This is real. This is enough." I reach across the table, squeeze his hand. "I'm proud of you," I say. His eyes shine. That night I drive home to my 1-bedroom apartment. I park in my usual spot, walk up the stairs, unlock the door. And I sit down on my couch, the same couch I've had for 8 years. And I think about everything that's happened. I didn't get revenge. Not really. I got something better. I got my son back. Not the version of him that drove the Range Rover and lived in the mansion. The real version. The one who's humble, who's honest, who's learning what it means to be a father. And I got my grandchildren. Piper texts me pictures now. Zane calls me to talk about basketball. Silas sends me voice messages that are just him laughing. They know the truth. They know what their father did, but they also know he's trying to make it right. And they know I didn't abandon them. I could have walked away, could have let Vance burn, could have let bitterness win. But I didn't, because the greatest revenge isn't destruction. It's refusing to let someone else's mistakes destroy you. It's choosing forgiveness over bitterness, truth over silence, love over pride. And in the end, that's what saved us all. If you made it here, you're not just a viewer, you're family. This story wasn't just about revenge. It was about a father who refused to be broken, a man who chose truth over silence, dignity over bitterness, and a family that found its way back from the edge. Now it's your turn. Comment forgiveness if you think Theodore did the right thing. Comment justice if you think Vance got what he deserved. Comment if this story changed how you see second chances. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because next week I've got another story that will shake you to your core. It's about betrayal, secrets, and a woman who discovered her husband's double life in the most unbelievable way. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's been betrayed, someone who's struggling to forgive, someone who needs to know that it's possible to come back from the worst moments of your life. This is Theodore's story, but it could be your story too. Thank you for being here. Thank you for believing in second chances. Thank you for being part of this journey. Welcome to the family. I'll see you in the next one. Theodore.